Okay, we're going to go ahead and create a new title. Let's go File, New. Doesn't matter what size it is, go ahead and hit Create. And we will go File, Place. And today we're going to be doing Bolt. Why Bolt? Because Bolt is amazing. Now, we're going to redo this. It's going to stretch us a little bit. We're going to learn a little bit about gradient tools. We're going to expand text into an object, which we've done before, but this will be a good repeat. And then we'll show you how to cut out holes in this, and then we'll finish it off with a drop shadow. So it's pretty easy, but we'll go ahead and walk through it, and you'll be well on your way to becoming an expert at Illustrator. So first things first, what I'm going to do is, instead of trying to copy this with the pen tool, which would be very difficult, we could do it, but it would be kind of a professional level pen tool job because of these curves that are perfectly curved. We're going to actually try using our own text and font here. So let's go ahead and get the text tool, click here, and we'll type out Bolt, all in caps, if I could spell. And then we'll get the select tool, we'll hit E and scale this way up. Now, we may want to stretch this, but for right now we'll leave it proportional by holding down the Shift key. And let's go ahead and try to find a font that more closely matches this. So we can go ahead and change the font here by going up to character over here, or under properties we've got character. So we can pick something. What you could do is look through and see what you have. You're looking for something that's very thick and bold. So I happen to have found one that I thought would work great. So I'm going to go ahead and search for it. Agency FP Bold. Now it's not perfect, but it's going to be close enough, I think. And we're going to have to modify it significantly, especially to get this little lightning bolt here. But let's go ahead and use our select tool and scale it up even more with E. And we'll proportionally scale it. And then we'll try to kind of make it match. So we can move it up here for a second and just match it the best we can, scale it, and move it into position. And that's close. Get it about as close as you can, and we will tweak it from there. All right, so that looks good. So you'll notice that this L and this T need to change their distance from each other. We'll go ahead when we expand and we'll modify this L to be a little bit thicker, and that'll be easy to do with just moving a few points around. But for right now, I want to show you something called kerning, and it's the spacing in between characters. So if we go over here to the character palette, we can change kerning here, and kerning only applies to the distance between two different letters. So if I double click here and select right here, it automatically pulls up the title tool, but I can adjust the kerning now and go down. And notice as I hold this down, the T is moving into place. Okay, so that's kerning. It will be very useful for designers. So just keep that in mind, kerning, all right? It's a cool word, and it just means the distance between two letters. Okay, so now we've got this in place. It's somewhat similar. It's not perfect. I'm not super worried about that. I just want to get us close enough. So from here, what we want to do is convert this into an object so that we can edit the points and move them perfectly. Now, I'm going to make a copy of this by alt-dragging. I always like to make a copy. It's called non-destructive editing. We talked about it in Photoshop, but I can always go back and change things now. And I may want to hide this in the layer panel, but for right now, I'm going to select this, and I want to go Object and Expand, hit OK. Now it's turned into points. So with the Direct Selection tool, I'll go ahead and zoom in, and I can move things to better represent the actual titles. So I can select these 2 points right here, holding on Shift to select them both, and then I can move them out. And then I can select these 2 points, then hold down Shift, move them up, grab these 2 points right here, and move them back to shorten that distance there. Again, I'm not going to worry about everything on here. If you really wanted to make this perfect, you could sit here and mess with all of these points and get them perfectly aligned. I'm going to go ahead and do that because it drives me crazy if I don't get it right. Those of you who are perfectionists in the class, you'll probably do the same thing. Those of you who are not, probably won't. And one little hint I want to give you is that if you hold down Shift while you're moving them, so I hold down Shift, I can let it go, they're all selected. Then when I drag, I can do the little dance of the T, or I can hold down Shift and kind of pop it into place. All right. enough about that. Again, I'm not going to worry about this one. If you want to, you could fix all this. What I really wanted to show you is how to cut things out, cut out shapes. So what I want to do is fill in this hole now. So I can shift select all these points here with the direct selection tool. And what I should be able to do with just those selected is hit the delete key. Now, if I accidentally had other points selected, it probably would have been a hot mess, but that worked. So now what we have is just this O here. So now we want to cut out that bolt shape. Remember I showed you the appearance panel? It's over here and it's already open, but if it's not, you can go ahead and take the opacity down so that we can use the pen tool to cut out this lightning bolt. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll grab the pen tool here and I'll zoom in so I get it as accurately as I can, and I'll real quickly drag through here and create this lightning shape. Doesn't have to be perfect. Again, I can change the appearance of this right here by going over to opacity and changing it too, so I can fully see what I'm doing. And I'll just click through and make this shape. Perfect. I'll go ahead and I don't need to worry about the opacity here, but on the main object I'll have to change it back. So what I want to do now is cut a hole using these two shapes. There's lots of ways to do it in Illustrator. There's multiple ways. I can use this Pathfinder tool, but what I want to show you is this tool right here. It's called the Shape Builder tool, and it is awesome. Notice they have a little animation that shows you how it works there, but it's pretty simple. With both of these shapes selected, if I hover here, I can add to, see the little plus sign there, but if I hold down Alt, I get a minus sign, and I can click there and delete, and it has created a shape using those two shapes together. So now I've got my bolt cut out. Super cool. This Shape Builder tool, very handy, very powerful. We will be using it quite a bit in these tutorials, so remember that one. Maybe even memorize the hotkey, which is Shift M. Okay, back to the select tool. With this selected, I want to change the opacity back up, and looks like we're at opacity normal, but we know that's not true. Let's select let's take this back up. Like so. Okay, that was difficult. I don't know why. We probably should have locked the background layer. Let's go into the layers real quick and organize things. So we've got a mess in here. We've got the duplicate bolt down there. We can just hide that. We've got this background right here. We want to leave it open, but we want to hide it because now we want to kind of match the gradient. So we could go ahead and take our bolt down here so we can see this gradient. We're going to actually sample the top color and the bottom color and make a gradient. So that's what we'll do next. We'll go ahead and color it. So gradient tool. If I select this gradient tool here, I could do this all day. It doesn't really do anything. Okay, kind of annoying, not very user-friendly, but if we go over to this gradient panel here, we can build our own gradient. So I can just click right here, and I've got a gradient. Now, it's not going the right direction. We want top to bottom. So right here, let's set the angle. So what angle do we set it at? 90 degrees. Okay. Now we want to set the top color to yellow and the bottom color to orange. So let's go ahead and do that. With this selected, I can click this icon right here, and I can go down here and sample this orange. Cool. And then right here, click, select this eyedropper tool here, select the top, and there we go. We have mirrored our gradient somewhat perfectly. Now, the one thing missing, you've probably noticed, is that background drop shadow. So let's go ahead and add that. We'll select our object here. Let's go Effect, Stylize, Drop Shadow. Now we want to change, you may want to change the opacity. Yours might be set to something differently. You're going to try to match this as closely as you can. I want to set mine to probably about 85%. And then you may want to offset it just a tad here. Now, these are going to jump in huge increments. We could have made this a lot bigger and it wouldn't jump so much, but you can also go in here and tweak this. So if I want this to be a little less, I can just delete that part right there and have it 0.1. And then this blur here, we may want to take this, that's probably even less than 0.1. We might do 0.08, try that. That's a little bit better. I think we're going to have to go like 0.05 probably. Yeah, maybe 0.06. Now, again, depending on how much detail you are, like if you're a detail-oriented person, you're really going to freak out if you don't get this perfectly. So feel free to experiment with it and play with it. Notice also we can change the color to closely match something else. So we could pick a different color here. You know, mess around with it. Try to match this as best you can. I know it's kind of like a brown looking, probably a dark orange. And then the blur, you may want to adjust it like another percentage, like 0.02 or something like that. Hit OK. And it's not perfect. Again, it looks like I could have increased my opacity a little bit. Try to do it as perfectly as you can. Other challenges to try is you could fill these in, same way we did here, and then cut them out. If you wanted to make this perfect, you could totally do that, and I'd like to challenge you to do that. That being said though, in this one we've learned about how to use the gradient tool here and how to sample colors. We have practiced some other things that we've done before with the direct selection tool, but the most important thing we learned is how to cut out a shape using this shape builder tool. Super cool stuff. Hope you learned a lot, and I'll see you in the next one.